So that's excellent. Okay, so I'm pretty sure, and some of you may not know who I am. Let me just tell you real quick. This is not going to be super long because you're not here to hear about me. You're here to figure out how you can get through this holiday season. So I am Dr. Maya. I am a child of God. I'm a physician. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm an aunt. I'm a daughter. I'm a sister and I'm a niece. I come from a huge family, so I'm used to being around a lot of people. I have 21 first cousins, and so we're definitely starting on second and third cousins now. So when we all get together, it's easily like 75 of us, and we're all family. So I'm used to being around a lot of folks. And let's see what else. So other than that, I am a preemie. I was born early at 26 weeks. I actually delivered a preemie who was born at 25 weeks. Um, the picture you see at the top is my family, my parents, my brothers, and their wives and children. We're missing my niece that should be on there, but we'll do another family photo shoot with her soon. And then to the very far right, you'll see like a treble case. I am actually a musician. So I have been playing the piano since I was 3. And so it is definitely a stress reliever for me. But most importantly, I have found like a new passion in helping women get through this infertility process, particularly women of color, because I know that it can feel very lonely and isolating sometimes. I know I felt the same way. And I don't want anyone to go through this experience alone or by themselves. And because of that work that I'm doing with that, I've also kind of really um, gotten into more maternal and infant morbidity and mortality. When we have healthy mothers, we will have healthy babies. And so that is exactly what I'm about, in addition to helping women get through their infertility journey. So I hope that gives you a little bit more about who's speaking to you tonight. All right, so we're going to make this. I know people say this and it's so cliche, but we are going to make this interactive. I do want to hear from you. But here's what we're not going to do. I am not selling you anything. I am not pitching you anything. So you can just take a sigh of relief and settle in, because I know these days, people are curious as to what's going on. Oh, what happened to my slides? Can you all? I don't see them. There. I know people are super curious about, and wary even about some of these presentations. We're like, all right, here's another sales pitch. This is not what this is, okay? So I will not be selling or pitching you anything. But what what we will be doing tonight, we are going to be open, we're going to be honest, and you are going to walk away from this with strategies and tips that actually work. And in addition, if you stay to the end, which I hope you all will, I have several free gifts for you to get you through this season. I crafted them and created them especially for you in mind. Things that I wish that I'd had to get me through this holiday season. So I'm so pleased to be able to share that with you and give that to you as you leave tonight. All right, so let's get into it. So the 9 secrets to slaying the season, even if you're dealing with infertility, okay? And just a word about infertility. It is not an identity. It is a disease. That's all it is. It's not your identity. It's just a disease. And that means that diseases have cures, or diseases have things that we can use to help mitigate the disease itself. So help to improve it. It is not your identity. Okay. And I think that's where a lot of us kind of get into trouble, when we really internalize it so much that it becomes who we are and what we are, and almost defining ourselves by it. But you are not, your identity is not infertility. Okay. So let's start there before we get into these 9 secrets. Okay. So number 1, okay, do not isolate yourself. And let me tell you a story behind that, because I usually have some stories behind most of these things. But when I was going through my own journey, I isolated myself without really even realizing it. It just was this slow creep kind of thing. And then I looked up and I was like, oh, I've disconnected from a lot of people. So I started disconnecting from my friends, my family, even my husband, and the person that I pledged to live life with. I was starting to isolate myself from him. And that was because I had so much guilt about the fact that I even had to go through this infertility situation in the first place. I had a lot of guilt about, should I have not pursued medicine first? Should I have gone straight into building a family? Should I have tried to do the two simultaneously? But that just was not my story. But I isolated myself, and I absolutely should not have done that. Your family, believe it or not, those that care about you really want to support you on this journey. And you can choose how much you share. You don't have to share the whole recipe, everything that's going on, but you can, let them know that you're on a journey, and just be supportive, ask for their support during this time. They actually do appreciate that. I know I found, once I opened up and told my family about what was going on, and I didn't tell everybody. I told you I come from a large family. I have 21 first cousins. My dad has 8 siblings. And so I did not tell any of them, but I told like my core family. And then once we got further down the road, when I was more sure of things, then I shared with everyone else. And eventually I shared with the world. It ain't official unless it's shared on Facebook, right? So, but it took time to get to that place. And I had to pull myself out of the isolation that I created for myself. Before I knew it, I was in a whole cocoon, wrapped up, and really just was in with my thoughts all the time. You are the person you hear from the most. Your thoughts are the thing that you hear from anyone the most is your thoughts. And if you're not careful, those thoughts can be detrimental to you, and you'll end up isolating yourself, and you don't really intend to. All right, so that's secret number 1. Number 2. So talk to your partner. Now, this is important for several reasons. So number 1, let's just give you a little statistics about infertility. The statistics have changed now. And so 1 in 6 couples are dealing with infertility. So it is very likely that you know someone who is going through this. They just don't talk about it. Okay. So if you thought that you're the only one going through this and this is uncommon, it is not. It is very common. And that's globally, that's throughout the world. And so with that said, your partner is with you, wants to help support you. And if you're not partnered, a trusted friend or a confidant that you can confide in wants to help you. Now, there's several reasons why you want to talk to your partner, especially when it's during the holiday season. First of all, you want to be able to really define how you feel and put some language around the feelings that you're having. Sometimes in life, we feel a certain way, but can't really attach any words to it. But when we can give some words to it, we can really start to change those feelings that we have around it. But you've got to be able to put some language around it to express yourself to other people, including your partner. The other reason you want to talk to your partner is you want to hear what he or she has to say about this whole situation, because they are experiencing things that you would never think they would be experiencing, but they are. And they have some feelings around this too. And you want to know what they are so that you can present yourself as a united front, as a team together going through this. And then the third reason you want to talk to your partner, and this is for men specifically, a lot of women think that it's their fault that they're infertile or they're going through this fertility challenge, when that is absolutely not true. Not all the time. So there is something called male factor infertility. It doesn't get talked about a lot at all, but it is a thing. And so it is something that once you talk to your partner, you all can kind of talk about, okay, let's go ahead and get you in to see the urologist. Let's get you checked out. Let's get you seeing your pediatrician. You're a pediatrician. Let's get you seeing your physician to get yourself checked out. So it is completely valid and something you should ask about. Make sure your partner gets checked out too. Okay. So we're going to talk to our partner during this whole ride. So that's secret number 2. All right. So let's move along and talk about secret number 3. So your feelings are valid. And here's the secret. Do not let anyone invalidate how you feel about this journey. Allow yourself to feel all of the feels. Even if you don't know exactly what they are or how you're going to get through them or how you're going to form language around it, do not let anybody devalue your feelings. You have every right to feel the way that you feel. Even if going into the holiday season, you're just like, I'm not feeling it this season. It's okay. You have every right to not feel it this season and act accordingly. That is absolutely your right. But if you want to find a way to still enjoy the season and get through it, even though you're infertile, that's what we're going to learn how to do tonight. But one of the things I absolutely want to make sure you understand and that you actually believe your feelings are valid. Whatever they are valid. Okay? All right, let's move on. So, how do I get through these holiday gatherings? So everybody's out now and everybody's going to Thanksgiving dinner or maybe Christmas dinner and Friendsgiving and all of these gatherings. And so I took some time to really kind of think about practically what you could do. And I want to make sure I cover everything. So I made a few notes, okay? All right. So first thing, set boundaries and limits. Again, this is part of your conversation with your partner, if you are a partner, to set boundaries. What does that look like? Like, okay, we're only going to accept 2 social events this season. I just can't take doing any more. And we're going to accept a certain type of social gatherings that feels good to both of us. We're going to be in environments that I'm not going to be triggered, or if I am triggered, I'm able to exit gracefully. Just kind of talking about what those boundaries would look like for you and your partner when you're going to these holiday gatherings. Okay. And then again, I talked about this a little bit, your exit strategy. I mean, it could be one of those things where you're at a holiday dance or you're at a gathering or you're at dinner, and somebody says something a little insensitive about your fertility journey, if they're even aware that you're on one. Some don't, and they still ask very insensitive questions that they probably do not intend to ask. But people are always curious, and I have found through my journey, they were more curious about my uterus than I was. Especially, going to church, all the little church ladies, why aren't pregnant? You need to get pregnant. You are not getting any younger. I mean, I got it all. And I know that you have gotten it too. But again, some of those, inquisitions that were not asked for, I just learned how to gracefully smile, even though I was upset inside, and exit stage left. And your partner can help you do that. It's that good old, oh, come on, babe, we got somewhere to go, tapping you on your shoulder, or you all have a certain head nod or a certain code word that you say to her, like, I've had enough, it's time to go. Okay. So definitely think about doing something like that. And then, when we think about like getting together for Christmas gatherings, you may want to communicate or Thanksgiving gatherings. You may want to communicate with your family regarding, how can I say this? even ahead of time, not on the day of, but ahead of time. And if you don't feel comfortable communicating, then maybe your partner or a trusted friend could reach out to the host or the hostess, whoever is hosting the event, and let them know that you really are in a very vulnerable place right now. Maybe you'd like to create some new traditions to celebrate some of these holidays. And if they're open to doing that, maybe something less baby focused. I know there are often children in the family that are going to be around, and I know that you care and you love your nieces and your nephews and your sisters and your brothers that are little. I know that you do, but I also know that it can be very triggering, and you just can't help that sometimes. Sometimes you're holding that belief of this is triggering, but I love them too. How do I resolve the two? And so it may be just a simple conversation with the host or the hostess ahead of time. So just kind of let them know what you're going through. You don't have to share the whole thing, but just so that they're aware that this is what they're going through. And they can also help you during the actual event, kind of navigate everything. So another thing that you can do to get through these gatherings. So number one, set your boundaries, set your limits to what you can do and what you're going to be able to do. Number two, plan your exit strategy, something that you can exit gracefully and not offend anyone and still smile and save face, but leave, especially if it's something that's triggering to you. And that is your business and nobody else's. You're absolutely allowed to do that. And then the third thing would be to talk to the host or the hostess of the gathering that you're going to, especially if it's an intimate kind of dinner type situation. You definitely want to talk to them about what's going on. Don't share the whole thing if you don't feel like it, but they can be your advocate too and kind of help circumvent things if they know. Okay. All right. So our next secret, like I mentioned to earlier, develop new traditions. So maybe it's not the typical we all get together for a holiday dinner and sit around the table and talk. And so then inevitably somebody asks the question, well, when are you going to get pregnant? And now you're triggered and it's a whole situation. Maybe it's after we eat dinner, because we're going to eat. After we eat dinner, let's go for a walk. Let's do something healthy. If it's not too cold outside, let's get out and let's move our bodies. Or after dinner, let's stay inside and do some karaoke. Let's play some games. And you may already do that with your families, and that's great. It takes the attention off of you and your situation. So you definitely want to think about creating and developing some new traditions with your family. Let me check the chat here. Thank you, Zephaniah. So yes, so definitely think about creating some new traditions. I mean, and this can really look like anything. The sky is the limit to what you can do, and I think people are open to doing that this day and this season. Especially after we've gotten through the pandemic, people may want to shake things up and do things a little bit differently. So don't be afraid to suggest it. All right. So our next tip, our secret, is going to be practical coping strategies. So once again, I sat down and I made a whole list of things that you can actually do that I have done. And I will tell you, I'm going to tell you this in the beginning. Whenever I teach or whenever I'm speaking, I am speaking from lived experience. This is not anything that I have read in a book. These are things that I have actually done myself. I've actually experienced myself. So these are lived experiences, okay? All right, so something I started to do, and I will say I am not the best at doing this consistently, but it's journaling. I'm the type of person, my brain thinks a little bit faster than I can write. So sometimes it's easier for me to type it out, or it's easier for me to like dictate my thoughts and my feelings. Like I regularly use my voice memo on my phone just to record something. It's just for me to express a certain feeling that I'm having that particular day. But as I'm journaling, not only do I focus on, what I'm feeling in that day, but I also want to focus on gratitude. Because what I have learned is when you focus in on gratefulness and gratitude, that is your signal to the creator that it will come back to you. Good things will come to you. So when you focus on being grateful and focus on the gratitude, you cannot help but have those things returned to you. And sometimes they'll be returned to you tenfold. Okay. So it's hard to do during this time when you're on this fertility journey. It's hard to see the good in it. It's hard to see the good even in life when you're going through this. But it is important that you at least try to incorporate some gratitude and gratefulness into your journaling. Something else you can do is a gratitude jar. So you would write down the things that you are grateful for. And on those days when you're particularly feeling, woe is me, you're at a self-pity party, because I did that many times, you can just go to that jar and pick something out and be reminded again of the things that you do have, the things that you are grateful for. And that just little thing just really, and I kid you not, this is scientifically proven. It's nothing that I am making up, but I kid you not, even those small changes in your thought patterns create different synapses in your brain, connections in your brain, and they will change your thoughts. It will change your thoughts until you actually believe what it is that you are thankful for and grateful for. I promise you, kid you not. Our brain is the most valuable thing we have. And we are going learning during this seminar, this talk rather, how we can actually almost hack our brains to get through this holiday season. So some other coping strategies. Meditation, if that's your thing, that may be something you want to do. I try to meditate, but I actually fall asleep. I fall asleep while I'm meditating. So I actually try to do more yoga because I'm moving my body. And again, when you're moving your body, you're releasing those feel good hormones that are actually helpful for your mood. It has been shown that even moving your body is more effective in combating depression than actually taking medication itself. Now, sometimes you need medicine, but actually moving your body and allowing your brain to release those feel good hormones are just as effective, if not more, when you're having those feelings of sadness. So definitely move your body with yoga. I also have done prayer walks. So I am not the biggest runner. I actually don't enjoy it, but I will walk. And so sometimes as I'm walking at a leisurely pace, if I decide to that day, I am praying. And it's sometimes I'll pray out loud, sometimes I will pray to myself, but those are the times when I feel closest to the creator, and those times where I can really, really, really express my feelings. Sometimes I'll be crying. Sometimes I'm walking and I'm crying, but that's okay. It allows me to get those feelings out. So incorporating prayer walks into your coping strategies will definitely, definitely help. Let's see. Taking up a new hobby. So I told you earlier in the seminar or the session, I keep calling it a seminar, earlier in the talk that I am actually a classical pianist. And I can't tell you the last time I took out my piano. And so that is very relaxing to me. It's a hobby of mine that does help me lift my mood. And when I was talking to you earlier about who I am, I also didn't mention that I'm in this infertility journey right along with you. Yes, I am a mother, but I'm still in this infertility journey. I can explain more about it later, but let's just suffice it to say, my physicians have told me I cannot carry a baby ever again. And so, we've decided that we're going to have to go the surrogate route if we're going to have another child. So I'm right there with you. Even though I've been through, a big piece of it, I'm still finding myself there again. So I'm not telling you things that I don't do myself. Okay. Lived experience. So here's a big one. Take a social media break. Okay? So everything that glitters is not gold. And everything people show you on Instagram, on Facebook, is what they want you to see. And it may look glitz and glam, and they may be living this perfect life as what they present on Instagram, but it is not always true. And Instagram and Facebook, social media, period, can be a huge trigger. And so if you need to just take yourself a little 2 month, 3 month hiatus to not be on social media, and you don't even have to announce it to anybody, just take your break so that you're not triggered by that. And then use that energy and use that time and refocus it in another place. Take that social media break if you need to. Okay. All right. Couple of other things. Plan a trip. So I know at least my family did this one time for Thanksgiving, and it actually was really fun. We focused more on the experience. We planned a trip and we did Thanksgiving in Bahamas. So it was really exciting. We got out of our normal day-to-day routines, and we were able to enjoy another location in which to share again in family traditions. Again, that's creating something new, creating something different. You might want to do that or consider it. Volunteer. So again, those feel good hormones get released when you are giving back to other people. So even when you're in this fertility space and you really want to find a way to give back, because again, that makes you feel good. It's going to bless somebody else. That gets your mind off of the fact that you're on this journey. So volunteer. You and your partner can do it together. You and a friend can do it together. That absolutely helps. And again, it just reminds you of the gratefulness and the things that you do have when you're able to serve others. It really, really does help. And then the last thing, and this one, I'm mentioning last because it can be a little triggering, but you have to kind of get yourself ready for it if you're ready for it. If you're not ready for it, don't do it. But again, this is a lived experience that I did. I sat down one day and I wrote a letter to my child that I knew was coming. I didn't know how, I didn't know when, I didn't know any of that, but I knew that it was coming. And I knew that it was promised to me. And so I wrote a letter to my child, just expressing to them how much I cared about them and loved them already. And I haven't even conceived yet. But getting those feelings out on paper, I actually wrote it this time, actually helped. I took that letter away. Nobody knew about it but me. I didn't tell my husband about it at all. And in fact, when I went for my transfer of my embryo, I actually took it with me. I kept it in my bag and I read it before the transfer happened. And I prayed over it all the time. So again, that was another brain hack, if you will. So putting things almost in writing or making them real actually says to your brain that this is happening. We believe this, it's going to happen. And it literally changes your physiology from a cellular level. I kid you not. Your brain has to see it being real before your body will follow. Because that mind and body connection is so, so strong and cannot be ignored. So definitely, if you want to write a letter to your child that is to come, go ahead and do that. But if that's too triggering for you right now, don't do that. But that is something that you can think about doing in the future. All right. So again, as you're going through these gatherings, suggest alternate activities. So just like I mentioned earlier, maybe let's all take a walk after we eat. Or maybe let's all do some karaoke. Let's play some board games. Let's play spades. Let's, do something else other than, or watch football. I know there's a lot of football on during the holidays, but let's not put the center and the focus on me. Let's, spread the love around and let's do something different. And I do think most of your family and your friends will understand that and accept that. And you just may be the one to suggest it, right? Because otherwise, it'll be, status quo, things as usual. But shaking things up a bit may actually help create new traditions for your family that everybody will like. All right. Okay. And so one of the last things, focus on your physical and mental health. So I'm a physician. I could not stand before you tonight if I did not tell you about this. I wouldn't be doing my job. So it is so important to focus on your physical health. And again, that's just making sure from little as checking in with your pediatrician, your internal medicine doc or your OBGYN, just to kind of see where you are, where you stand. As far as your physical health is concerned, that's making sure you're getting some sort of exercise in. I'm not telling you to run a marathon, but even a gentle walk or yoga works wonders. And then also adjusting your diet, adjusting what you're eating so that's optimal. We like to think about food as fuel. So, oftentimes, we think about, well, I don't like this or I don't like that. Well, and I have those same things. There are several things that I don't like to eat. But I try to think about them more so as fuel for my body. And so that's what the most important thing is. And then not to be unmentioned, I have to mention this. Your mental health is key. Okay. Can I tell you, I had two therapists. I had a psychologist and I had a psychiatrist while I was going through this journey. And I still keep them now. They are invaluable to me to allow me space to express my feelings and to help me put language around it. And then help me discover pathways as far as how to move past it. Now, and I'm happy to share about this later on, but in my program that I have, that is absolutely the foundation of what we work on. Because again, that mind and body foundation and that connection is super strong. And so I have seen it time and time again. When your mental health is where it needs to be, your body will follow, it will align. And I have seen people conceive. And so it is not, should not be ignored. So definitely want to mention that to you as well as you go through this holiday season. All right. And then the last thing, and you may think this is little, but it is something you should consider. We want to consider all situations here. Decide how you want to handle gifts. Okay. So I wrote down a couple of things about this. Now, maybe instead of exchanging a gift, because again, if you're like me and my family, there are little ones running around all the time. And the focus especially for Christmas, is on them. So, maybe you suggest to your family, if you're not wanting to be triggered by that, have them do their gift exchange at home or to have the children do theirs first. Or, just exchange cards amongst the adults. And when you're gift giving, making sure you're sensitive to others who might be going on a similar journey, that you're gifting them things that are not going to trigger them too. Let's see. If you happen to receive something that's a little insensitive or triggering regarding your fertility journey, graciously accept it. And then you can always donate it or regift it. If you don't want to keep that, if it's too much for you, donate it or regift it. Don't have it in your space if that's not what you want. And then consider, making charitable donations. So again, there are so many people in need, not just during this holiday season, but 365, but especially during this holiday season, there are so many people that are in need and would definitely appreciate your charitable gift. So that's another way you can decide to kind of handle gifts. Again, you're practicing gratitude, you're practicing gratefulness, and that comes back to you all the time when you do that, and it makes you feel good. Okay. So, like I was mentioning, and I hope I have your permission to kind of share a little bit of my story. So, I have been there too. My journey started when I was 34. I froze my eggs at the suggestion of my OB. The tank that you see on the left are the eggs that I froze when I was 34. And then I met my husband when I was 36. We got engaged when I was 38 and married when I was 39. And so we knew we were going to have to see a fertility specialist from the beginning. I have PCOS. I had at that time, I was morbidly obese. I've lost 80 pounds in the last year and actually going on 2 years now. And so I had chronic hypertension. So everything, the odds were stacked against me. And so I knew that after we got married, and this is one thing I told my husband when we were dating. So he knew exactly what was going on. And we went to the fertility specialist. We were told at the very first consultation that we would never have our own biological child. That sent me into a spiral of a depression. Everything that I had dreamed of being a mother, was really what I wanted to do. I'd accomplished most of the other things that I wanted to do. It was almost as if, everything I touched turned to gold. And I know sometimes you might feel that way in your own life, your own career. You set your intentions to do something, it turns into gold. And so I was so confused as to why this was the one thing that was tripping me up. I had no control over it. But I did start to use my resources. And so I actually found a clinic that would partner with us to help us grow our family. I went through the harvesting cycle again. I got fewer eggs that time. I got 3, but we put them together and fertilized them. And after all is said and done, we had 2 normal embryos. And I was shocked to even get that because my odds and my chances were really low at that time, based on my numbers and my age. But we did get 2 normal ones. And the bottom picture that you see is actually the embryo. That's our daughter at the very beginning stages of her life. And so I'm a living testimony that, if you're facing infertility, you can overcome it. It does take a little bit of prayer, a lot of bit of prayer, a little bit of science, a little bit of love, a little bit of grace, a lot of hope, but it can happen for you. So, with that, that is the end. And here we are at our free gifts. Zephaniah, if you would drop the links in the chat so that if people aren't able to screenshot it, they can still grab it. So what I created for you, on the left, that is actually a fertility affirmation. So those are things that you can listen to while you're going to sleep at night. Again, it changes your thoughts in your brain and your subconscious while you're asleep. And it does actually help. So feel free to take a screenshot of that QR code. It should take you directly to the link. If you're not able to access it, please let me know. And then the second free gift is an IVF roadmap. So literally, I have laid out everything that you need to consider if you're starting an IVF journey or if you're starting a fertility journey. Things that you may not have thought to ask, or things you may not have thought to consider, but are still important that you have in place as you're going through this journey. So I want to give everyone a little bit of time to capture those images. And again, Zephaniah, my assistant, has dropped them in the chat for you